All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to This Explainer. Now, if you're joining me today, I know it's because you are completely serious about transforming your service operations. You're not looking for minor tweaks, right? You want a definitive, strategic blueprint to drastically improve efficiency, eliminate waste, and literally send your customer satisfaction metrics through the roof. Today, we're taking the incredibly powerful, data-driven principles of design for Six Sigma and applying them directly to the service sector. This is all about engineering business excellence from the ground up. Okay, let's dive into this. The framework we're unpacking today is basically the definitive guide on how to adapt traditional manufacturing-based Six Sigma methods specifically for your service operations. For the longest time, Six Sigma was viewed as something, strictly for the factory floor. It was all about reducing defects and widgets on an assembly line. But as this guide proves, the service sector, which makes up a massive chunk of our global economy, is totally ripe for that exact same rigorous value-creating analysis. We're going to take those heavy-hitting manufacturing tools and adapt them to perfectly fit the unique realities of your service business.
So here's our roadmap for this executive briefing. We're going to cover 1. Manufacturing versus service realities, 2. The customer value formula, 3. The 10 service process types, 4. Resolving contradictions with TRIZ, and finally, 5. Executing your lean service plan. This is a totally no-nonsense strategic blueprint, so let's get started.
Section 1. Manufacturing versus service realities. This is where we hit our first major paradigm shift. We really need to understand why we can't just copy and paste traditional manufacturing rules straight into a service business. Think about it. In manufacturing, you're making a tangible product. You can put it on a shelf, hold it in inventory, and sell it later. You have long lead times. But a service? A service is completely intangible, and more importantly, it's highly perishable. You literally cannot inventory a service. An empty seat on an airplane or an unused hour of your consultant's time, that perishes the exact moment it goes unused. Plus, in the service industry, production and consumption happen simultaneously. Your customer is essentially standing inside the factory while the product is being made.
And this brilliantly illustrates the 3 pillars of any service operation. First up, you have the service product. That's the actual output, right? Like a meal at a restaurant or a big consulting report. Second, you have the service delivery process, the actual steps and workflows required to get that product to the client. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, the customer-provider interaction. Look, in a factory, the customer never meets the assembly line worker. But in a service setting, managing that final human interaction is just as critical to boosting overall satisfaction as the process itself. Honestly, a flawless process means absolutely nothing if that human interaction falls flat.
Moving on to Section 2, the customer value formula. Time to get from the abstract into the quantifiable.
Look, just doing things right simply doesn't cut it anymore. You have to engineer value by design. And customer value is defined mathematically. It's the perceived benefits minus the perceived liabilities. The benefits are all those functional, psychological, and convenience gains your customer experiences. The liabilities? Those are the economic costs, the psychological burdens, and the sheer inconveniences they have to put up with. To win your market, you must maximize those functional benefits while relentlessly lowering the overall service costs and liabilities.
So when you're analyzing your customer survey data, don't just look at whether they simply liked the service. You need to systematically identify the hidden liabilities. Take the psychological side. Are you offering the benefit of brand prestige? Or are you actually burdening your client with uncertainty and a poor brand image? I highly advise you to structure your customer surveys specifically to measure these exact categories. Find out exactly where those hidden psychological liabilities are hiding and engineer them completely out of your system.
Section 3. The 10 service process types. Let's shift gears to your operational assessment.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that there are 10 specific standard service process types. I've highlighted 4 of the major ones right here. By accurately categorizing your current operations, we can predict exactly how each process type influences your specific performance metrics. Are you a service factory, like a restaurant with a massive backroom operation? Or are you a highly customized professional service, like a hospital? A telephone service call center demands a totally different bottleneck analysis than a retail supermarket. You have to know your exact process type before you try to fix it.
Listen, as an executive, this is your immediate directive. You must instruct your teams to map your current workflows. You literally cannot optimize what you haven't visualized. Map your current state precisely to your specific process type. This is the only way you're going to apply lean principles, identify those hidden capacity issues, and ruthlessly eliminate waste from your daily delivery model. Section 4.
resolving contradictions with TRIZ. Because once you find those bottlenecks, you actually have to fix them, right?
Let me pose this question directly to you. How do we resolve business contradictions without settling for weak compromises? Usually, when improving one metric hurts another, say you increase service speed but your quality drops, teams just settle for a weak compromise somewhere in the middle. But what if you didn't have to compromise at all? What if you could entirely resolve the contradiction? Enter TRIZ. That's the theory of inventive problem solving. This methodology gives us specific business inventive principles to just shatter those compromises. For example, segmentation. If a process is getting way too complex, divide it into autonomous, agile profit centers. Or think about dynamics. If rigid structures are causing massive delays during your peak hours, well, employ a dynamically flexible organizational structure that adapts instantly to demand. Or, my personal favorite, relative change. Actually proactively matching specific service provider personalities to the psychological profiles of your high-value clients. These are incredibly practical ways to integrate inventive principles right into your daily management.
So the crucial point is that you should never just accept a simple trade-off. Overcoming these technical and business contradictions completely by using tools like TRIZ doesn't just give you a marginal improvement, it literally raises your entire service system to a completely new performance level. This is the exact mechanism that creates undeniable, untouchable market dominance.
And finally, Section 5, executing your lean service plan. We've got the theory, we have the tools, now let's build the blueprint.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a cohesive execution strategy using the DMADV framework. Define, measure, analyze, design, and verify. First, you start by strictly defining the service product so it aligns perfectly with your brand strategy goals. Then, you measure actual customer needs using that psychological survey data we talked about earlier. Next, you analyze your specific process workflows for lean optimization. Only after all that do you actually design the new delivery model. And finally, you verify that maximum customer value, those key functional benefits, are actually being delivered. This guarantees that customer value is prioritized at absolutely every single stage.
Now, to actually make this happen on the ground, you're going to need to run internal service design workshops. And my practical advice for these? You must break down the physical and cultural silos between your departments. Form a fully empowered cross-functional design team. Promote modular design practices. This lets you swap out service components to radically speed up delivery. And above all else, adjust your team structures dynamically as the market evolves. Agility is for sure your greatest asset here.
I want to remind you of this profound quote from the quality pioneer Joe Duran. What you measure is what you get. It really is that simple. You can run all the internal workshops in the world, but if you don't implement key metrics for tracking service reliability and customer value over time, these Lean Six Sigma changes simply won't stick. You have to measure the new performance continuously to sustain the excellence you've just engineered.
Let me leave you with this final provocative thought. Your top-tier competitors are not guessing anymore. They are mathematically engineering their customer value using these exact Design for Six Sigma principles. So take a hard look at your own operations right now. Are your service processes designed by specific intent, maximizing benefits and eliminating liabilities? Or do they just sort of evolve by accident? The blueprint is right here in your hands. It is time to execute. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.